This is Life Epistles, and we welcome you to the 19th episode. What we have been trying to do all this while is to bring to you detailed presentation about death, what happens before, during, and after. In today's episode, we are going to talk about journey of the spirit or the journey of the dead through the first, second, and third heavens. What are the questions we seek to answer? 1. What happens to the dead in the first, second, and third heavens? 2. Why should there be heavenly worlds? 3. Will every human being, after death, go through the first, the second, and third heavens? And 4. What happens after the heavenly worlds? Stay with us as we give you the answers. Once again, we wish to advise that some descriptions in the presentation might touch on your sensibilities. Please bear with us. Our reference for this lecture is the Western Wisdom Teachings. And my name is Sedo Buko. Let us begin with a summary of what we said in our previous lecture number 18. We said that within the 3.5 days after death, the corpse should be kept in a room, in a house, in a solitary environment, devoid of any noise or disturbance. Ice blocks, if available, can be used to preserve the body, and after 3.5 days, the body can then be sent to the morgue. There are dangers if the body is taken immediately after death to the morgue or buried immediately after death. There are dangers to the dead. The dead are often present at their own funerals because of the tie between the residual magnetism of the corpse and the spiritual bodies. The vibration of certain colors during funerals are not conducive for the dead, especially black, red, brown. Those colors are really not conducive, much more when they are in deep colors. White color is most appealing as the atoms attract and connect with the vibration of the dead. Grief, crying, wailing, and lamentations, they dampen the cheerfulness of the dead and as much as possible should not characterize any funeral. Respect ought to be shown because that is about the last occasion to bid the dead God's speed. It should be repeated at the funeral while mentioning the name of the dead that he or she has no more role to play in the physical world, but should adjust or find his or her balance in the spiritual world. All along, the dead will try to participate in activities of interest, just like when he or she was alive. Generally, the first place dead people enter in the spiritual world is the lower region of the desire world, where the force of repulsion dominates. Over there, the records which have been transferred into the seed atom of the desire body are played to the dead who now has feelings. The desire world is structured by God such that both good and bad cannot be found on the same plane. There is a separation. The bad is cleansed first, so the dead person reaps the evil of his past or her past life on earth, to suffer until the realization that he or she has led an inappropriate life on earth. The force of repulsion is not to punish anybody, but to build conscience into the spirit. Purgatory occupies the 3 lower regions of the desire world. It works through the force of repulsion in 2 ways. 1. To deprive the dead from satisfying evil activities, desires, feelings, and emotions. And 2, for the dead to feel the pain cause others by commission or omission during earth life. As long as the dead entertains low desires, he or she must stay in the desired body and suffer in purgatory. There is no fixed time about how long a person will stay in purgatory. It depends on the individual, how early he or she can drop the evil desires. After purgatory, the experiences will be forgotten in succeeding lives, but the feeling remains. It is only when the dead realizes and admits the vanity of the desire to which he or she was attached during earth life can he or she proceed to the higher worlds, commencing with the first heaven. While alive, we can leave our purgatory by the exercise of retrospection so that we do not go through it after death. Repentance and reform are also powerful factors in shortening purgatorial existence. Even though we are not able to make restitution for a wrong that we have committed, the sincerity of our regret will suffice. Much progress will be made by humanity, and conditions ordinarily reserved for future lives are attainable now by the individual who strives to judge himself or herself and to eradicate evil by reforming his or her character. The cornerstone of spiritual development is character, nothing else but character. Not just about chanting, speaking in tongues, showboating prayers and fasting, display of magical powers, signs and wonders, and what have you. Character shows your level of spirituality. The central region of the desire world is a sort of borderland, neither heaven nor purgatory. That place is for people who were honest and upright in life, who wronged no one, but deeply immersed in business or other activities and thought nothing of the higher life. For such people, the desire world is a place of excruciating monotony. They face the greatest danger, and that is to lose touch in the scheme of evolution and become outcasts. So, the dead, having been sufficiently purged of all wrong desires and suffering from the pain caused others, builds into itself conscience. It is now ready to proceed to the first heaven, where records of the good things done on earth will be played for it to enjoy bliss and strengthen virtue. How the dead enjoy bliss in the first heaven is dependent on the amount of good work done on earth. So, if little good works were done here, little enjoyment will be realized in the first heaven. It is therefore not automatic that everybody will go to first heaven after death. Your good works, my good work, determines whether we will be in first heaven or not. Let us now begin with the main lecture. When the dead is thoroughly purged in purgatory, the purified spirit rises into the first heaven. First heaven is located in the three highest regions of the desire world, where the results of suffering that has been incorporated into the seed atom of the desired body of the dead person gives it the right feeling. That quality of right feeling is brought about by the suffering of the dead in purgatory. Right feeling is not the same as conscience. There's a difference between them. Right feeling acts as an inherent driver to do good and a deterrent from evil in future. And we show a diagram of the desire world. We talk about purgatory, which is colored red. And we talk about the borderland, which is colored gray. The golden or the yellow colored one is the first heaven, the higher region of the desired world, comprising the region of soul power, the region of soul light, and the region of soul life. The three constitute the first heaven. And the arrow shows the journey of the dead. After purgatory, after borderland, the third place, which is the first heaven, is where the dead goes. The force of attraction predominates in the higher region of the desired world. It means that the first heaven is predominated by the force of attraction. In the first heaven, the panorama of the life led on earth is played again backward. By this time, it is the good acts of life that are the basis of feeling. That is different from what happened in purgatory, where the bad, the evil actions of the dead are played. In the first heaven, it is the good acts of the dead that are played. When the dead comes to scenes where he or she helped others, he or she realizes anew all the joy of helping at that time. In addition, feels all the gratitude poured out by the recipient of that help. When the dead comes to scene where he or she was helped by others, the dead again feels all the gratitude that was then felt towards the helper, the benefactor. So we see the importance of appreciating the favors shown us by others, because gratitude makes for soul growth. Our happiness in heaven depends upon the joy we gave others and the valuation we place upon what others did for us. And if you go back to the Bible, Luke chapter 17, verse 11 to 19, gives us an account of how Jesus healed 10 lepers. And only one of them, a Samaritan, returned to thank him. We may read the details of this story and see the lesson that we are being taught by our Lord Christ Jesus. Appreciation, expressing gratitude, is very important. Giving is good, of course. Say to give money for a purpose we believe or are convinced is good. Why not? But service is thousandfold better. Service, caring, and sharing are the best. Even a kind look, expression of confidence, a sympathetic and loving helpfulness can be given by all, can be given by everybody to cheer up somebody in moments of difficulty. It is not all about money. No, help is not centrally focused on giving money. Moreover, we should endeavor to help the needy to help himself or herself, whether physically, financially, morally, or mentally. We should not cause the individual to become dependent upon us or upon others. That is not the best way of helping. The first heaven is a place of joy, without a single drop of bitterness. The spirit is beyond the influence of the material earthly conditions and assimilates all the good of past life. It leaves it all over again. Yea, all the ennobling pursuits to which the dead aspired whilst living on earth, but could not attain, are realized. So things that we want to do on earth, and we couldn't do them, first heaven gives us the opportunity to achieve them. It is a place of rest, and the harder, the tougher has been the life on earth, the more keenly will be the rest enjoyed over there. Sickness, sorrow, and pain are not known in the first heaven. They are unknown. The thoughts of devout Christians have built the new Jerusalem in that realm. Beautiful houses, flowers, and what have you, are the portion of those who aspire to them. They builded themselves by thought from the subtle desire stuff. And we know that those things that are built by people using their thoughts. Even though it is a thought form, they are real and tangible to them, just as our material houses or other things are real to us. All gain in the first heaven, the satisfaction which earth life could not give them. There is one class over there who lead a particularly beautiful life, the children. If we could see them, we will stop grieving when they die early. Why are we saying so? When a child dies before the birth of the desired body, and the birth of the desired body takes place by the 14th year, that child does not go beyond the first heaven because it is not responsible for its actions. The desired body has not been born, and the mind too has not been born then. So the child is not responsible for its actions. Therefore, the child has no purgatorial existence, unlike adults. Adults, we need to purge ourselves because we have our desire, we also have our mind, unlike a child. The desired body of a child, together with the mind, will persist until a new birth. So the child, when he or she dies, does not build a new mind or a new desired body. The old one that is there is the same old one the child brings back. So, those bodies will persist until a new birth. And for that reason, such children, they are apt to remembering their previous life on earth. And indeed, there are so many stories of children narrating where they lived some years back. And there are so many scientific investigations into that. Thousands of such records have been noted down. It is all because when a child dies, once its desired body and its mind were not born before the death, the child can be reborn with the same vehicle, the same bodies, and it can narrate, it can remember where it used to be. But after some time, the child will forget all those things. For such children, the first heaven is a waiting place where they dwell from 1 to 20 years until an opportunity for a new embodiment is offered. So when the child dies, goes to the first heaven, it relaxes over there, but not full relaxation. There is work to do over there until it is born again. Yet, it is more than simply a waiting place. The first heaven for the child is not just a waiting place, because much progress is made during this interim. In the first heaven, even though the child is waiting for a new body to take embodiment, there is still work to do in the first heaven. When a child dies, there is always some relative awaiting it. You may not know that, but that is the fact, that there is always some relative awaiting the child when he or she dies. Failing that, there are people who love to attend to children in earth life, who find delight in taking care of little children when they die. So they take care of them in the first heaven. The extreme plasticity, the desired world, the material over there is plasma, extreme plasma. And it is such that it is pliable to many changes. So it is easy to use that plasticity of the matter in the desired world to form the most exquisite living toys for the children. And their life is one beautiful play. Nevertheless, their instruction is not neglected. The children are taught in the first heaven so much. They are formed into classes according to their temperaments, not their age, but rather their temperament. That's how the children are organized in the first heaven. In the desired world, it is easy to give object lessons in the influence of good and evil passions on conduct and happiness. So the object lessons that are being given, those objects are live objects. So the children can easily see the connection between good and evil. These lessons are indelibly imprinted upon the child's sensitive and emotional desire body and remain with the child even after rebirth, So that many of those children, you can see right from the beginning that they lead a decent life. It is all because they have been well taught in the first heaven about how to be ethical on earth. Often, when a weak spirit is born, a spirit that hasn't gained enough experience to be strong, when such a spirit takes physical embodiment, the compassionate ones, what we mean by the compassionate one is that these are the invisible leaders of humanity. They are in charge of our evolution and they operate from the higher world. They cause such a child to die early so that that child will be given extra training to make it fit for the hard life ahead in the physical world. This seems to be the case, particularly where the etching of the desired body was weak in consequence as a result of a dying person being deprived from taking along the records as a result of the lamentations, the wailing, the crying, the disturbance of neighbors, of relatives who thought that they were rather helping the dead. They were not. Those disturbances prevent the dead from going with the records. And the same thing with the one who dies in an accident. So when such a person is to be reborn, the person dies early as a child. Such a person did not, under those circumstances, when we disturb them, they don't experience the appropriate intensity of feeling in post-mortem existence. Therefore, when reborn, they die early life so that they cannot recover the records that we prevented them from going with. Often, the duty of caring for such a child in the heaven life falls to those who were the cause of the anomaly. As such, they are afforded, those who caused the anomaly, they are afforded the opportunity to make up for the fault and to learn better. That is how come certain things happen to us, so that we learn from them and correct a mistake that we made in the past for which we may not be conscious now. Or perhaps they become the parents of the one they harmed and care for it during the few years it lives. The first heaven is also a place of progression for all who have been studious, artistic, and altruistic. If you are like that, the first heaven provides you with the opportunity to learn some more. The student and the philosopher, they have instant access to all the libraries of this world. The real libraries are over there. The painter, for example, has endless delight in the ever-changing color combinations, learns that his or her thoughts blends and shapes colors at will. His or her creations glow and scintillate with a life impossible of attainment with the dull pigments of this physical world. Over there, things are so pliable and alive. They are not dull and static as they are in this physical world. The painter paints with living, glowing materials and is able to execute his or her designs with a facility which fills the soul with delight. Mind you, the physical world is the world of form. The desire world, where we find purgatory, especially the lower aspect of the desire world, where we find heaven, which is the first heaven, the upper area of the desire world. The desire world is actually made up of colors. So all the colors that we see, they are emanations of the desire world, what there is in there. The world of thought, where we have the second and the third heavens, they are the sphere of tone. So all sounds, they are coming from there, the world of thought. The poet finds a wonderful inspiration in the pictures and colors which are the chief characteristics of the desire world. In like manner, does the author accumulate material and faculty. Everything is taken from there. The philanthropist, for example, works out his or her altruistic plans for the upliftment of humanity. Everything is learned over there from the desire world, the higher region, the first heaven. If a person failed in one life, he or she will see the reason for that failure, and that reason is found in the first heaven. The person will learn how to overcome the obstacles and avoid the mistakes made to make that plan practicable in the future. The person understands how come that there was failure now, and in the future time has a means of correction so that the plan will now work for that person. It happens in the first heaven. When virtue and conscience have been sufficiently strengthened, then and only then does the dead leave the desired body to disintegrate, as happened to the dense body and the vital body. So the third body that the spirit is using, the first one being this dense body, the next being the vital body, and the third being the desired body. Once virtue and conscience have been sufficiently strengthened, the spirit drops the third body, the desired body as well, and the desired body disintegrates. The dead takes with him or her the forces only of the seed atom, that is the living information contained in the seed atom. And those information, the forces in the seed atom, they are to form the nucleus of future desired body. Let's talk about the second heaven. Finally, the ego, the threefold spirit, enters the second heaven, clad in the sheath of mind, which contains the three seed atoms, the extracts from the three discarded vehicles, namely the dense body, the vital body, and the desired body. The spirit now enters the second heaven, and it has only the mind over there. The second heaven is the region of concrete thought. It means that the spirit has now entered the world of thought, and over there it is only the mind that exists. And in artistic word, people who know about this secret, they represent only the head. They put only the head for people to know that the person has entered into second heaven, because all other parts of the body disintegrate by the time the dead gets to the second heaven. And we show a picture of the second heaven, which is in the world of thought. And the second heaven is the lower region of the world of thought, where we have the archetypes of desire and emotion, the archetype of universal vitality, and the archetype of forms. The three lower regions, they constitute the region of concrete thought, and that is the second heaven. The movement of the dead from the first heaven, which is in the desire world, to the second heaven, which is the region of concrete thought, is a conscious movement. Let us take note that generally the movement from the dense body into the vital body, and from the vital body to the desired body, and from the desired body to the first heaven, most often it is unconscious for most people. But the movement into the second heaven is a conscious movement for everybody. Then the dead leaves the desired body. He or she is perfectly conscious and passes into a great stillness. For the time being, everything seems to fade away. The dead cannot think. No faculty is alive. Yet the dead knows that he or she is. The dead has a feeling of standing in the great forever, of standing utterly alone, yet unafraid. And his or her soul is filled with a wonderful peace, which passeth all understanding. In esoteric Christianity, that state is called the Great Silence. Then comes the awakening. The spirit is now in its home world. We are not talking about the actual home of the spirit, the world of thought. The first awakening brings to the spirit the sound of the music of the spheres, celestial music. It is a fact and not a mere figure of speech. In our earth life, we are so immersed in the little noises and sounds of our environment that we are incapable of hearing the music of the marching oars. But the trained esoteric Christian hears that music of the planets, of the heavenly bodies. They sing, they vibrate, and the song comes. The trained esoteric Christian hears that. When it is said that this is the world of tone, it must not be thought that there are no colors. Many people know that there is an intimate connection between color and tone, that when a certain note is struck, a certain color appears simultaneously. So it is also in the heavenly world. Color and sound are both present, but the tone is the originator of the color. The musician can hear certain tones in different parts of nature, such as the wind in the forest, the breaking of the surf on the beach, the roar of the ocean, and the sounding of many waters. The musician hears them, different from the way we hear them. These combined tones of nature, they make a whole, which is the keynote of the earth. The keynote of the earth planet is tone. Every planet has a tone. It vibrates and produces a sound. Every human being also has it. We all have keynote because we vibrate. And our keynote can make and unmake us depending on how that keynote is played, its rhythm and its vibration. Every human being has a keynote. The work done by humanity, by the dead, in the heavenly world is many-sided. We're talking about a second heaven. And the work that is done over there are varied. It is not, second heaven is not an inactive, dreaming, or illusory existence. It is a time of the greatest and the most important activity in preparing for the next life, just as sleep is an active preparation for the work of the following day. Here, in the second heaven, the extract, the quintessence of the three bodies are built into the threefold spirit. This is where the spirit begins to harvest its job, its work on earth. As much of the desired body as the individual has worked upon during life, by purifying his or her desires and emotions, will be welded into the human spirit, thus giving an improved mind in the future. As much of the vital body as the life spirit had worked upon, transformed, spiritualized, will be amalgamated with the life spirit to ensure a better vital body and temperament in succeeding lives. The third one, as much of the dense body as the divine spirit has saved by right action will be worked into the divine spirit, and it will bring better environment and opportunities in the future. In our lecture number 6, we put across this diagram to show how the spirit harvests, extracts from the use of the body, which is the threefold soul. Once again, we produce this diagram. But most importantly, if you refer to lecture number 6, you can get the details. The conscious soul, which is derived from the use of the dense body, is feeding the divine spirit. Similarly, the intellectual soul, which is as a result of using the vital body, goes to feeding the life spirit. And the third one, which is the emotional soul, which is derived from the use of the desired body, goes to feeding the human spirit. In the second heaven, these things are fully completed by the spirit. The second heaven is the real home of the ego, the spirit, the thinker. That is our real home. Here, the dead dwells for centuries, assimilating the fruit of the last earth life and preparing the earthly conditions which will be best suited for the next deep or the next step in matter. So two things are happening here. One, the dead is assimilating all the works that it has done on earth, and also preparing the conditions for the next rebirth. The tomb, as we said earlier on, the world of thought is a world of tomb. The tomb, which pervades second heaven, is everywhere, and it is apparent as color. It is this harmonious sound vibration which builds into the threefold spirit the extract or the quintessence of the threefold body upon which the spirit depends for growth. For the spirit to absorb its products, sound is the basis. And the second heaven is all about sound, which produces color. Through this sound, through this tone, the spirit assimilates all its work on earth. By the time the dead gets to second heaven, it has forgotten entirely about having ever lived on earth. So by the time we get to the second heaven, we forget totally that we have ever been on earth. Just as you will sleep, dream, and forget your dream. It's a similar thing for the dead when it gets to the second heaven. It forgets totally that it has ever been on earth. Why? The mind is dropped. The life in the second heaven is an exceedingly active one, varied in many different ways. The ego, the spirit, assimilates the fruits of the last earth life and prepares the environment for a new physical existence. The new conditions will be determined by conduct and action in the life just led. You see, people say that they don't like where they are, their current environment on earth. In case they should come back, they would like to be maybe a different place, a different continent, come as a different gender and all that. You cannot just say it and have it done. It depends on the work you do now to merit it. So if you want a very improved environment in the future, in your future life, you need to work towards it now. It is required that the fruits of the past be worked into the world, which is to be the next scene of activity. Therefore, all the denizens of heavenly worlds work upon the models of this earth planet, all of which are in the region of concrete thought. They alter the physical features of the earth and bring about the gradual changes which vary its appearance, so that on each return to physical life, a different environment has been prepared, wherein new experiences may be gained. The planet is transforming, and its future appearance is already being worked at in the world of thought, the second heaven. Climate, flora, fauna, and what have you, they are all altered in the second heaven under the direction of higher beings. Humanity is not doing this thing by itself. There are higher beings who are directing us as to what we need to do. So, the world is just what we ourselves, individually and collectively, have made it. And it will be in the future what we make it now. Work in the heavenly world is not confined solely to the alternation of the surface of the earth. It goes beyond that. The dead is also actively engaged in learning how to build a body which shall afford a better means of expression. We build our own bodies. So don't blame any God. Don't blame anybody. The body that we have now, we prepared it in the heavenly worlds ourselves under the guidance of the super beings who are in charge of humanity. It is humanity's destiny to become a creative intelligence. That is our intelligence. And we are serving our apprenticeship all the time on this earth planet. During heavenly life, we are learning to build all kinds of bodies, the human body included. We learn it. We may not be aware of it in this physical life, but in the heavenly world, we learn how to build bodies. Teachers from the higher creative hierarchies teach the physically dead, consciously, those who are dead, they are taught consciously how to build body. The painter is taught to build an accurate eye, capable of taking in a perfect perspective and of distinguishing colors and shapes to a degree inconceivable among those not interested in color and light. Of course, the skill of the painter is different from ordinary people. The painter has a special skill, and the body, the perception that enables that to happen is built, is acquired back in the heavenly world. The same for the mathematician, the musician, or whatever profession. If you find your right profession, you attune to it. But if it is not your right profession, no matter how hard you try, it may not be like the one whose profession is original like that. The dead is taught in the second heaven to build a body that are prerequisites for the work on earth. That is why some are gifted in certain areas than others. They built it and they found it in the physical life. Overall, of all the professions, none is so high as the musician. The musician is so high. While the painter draws inspiration chiefly from the world of color, which we have said is the desired world, the musician attempts to bring us the atmosphere of our heavenly home world, where as spirits, we are citizens, and the musician translates them into the sounds of earth life. That's why music does it all. That is the highest mission, because as a mode of expression for soul life, music reigns supreme. It is being taken right from our own home world, the second heaven. That music is different from and higher than all other arts can be understood by looking at a statue or painting. Once created, they become permanent. They are drawn from the desired world and are therefore more easily crystallized, while music, being of the heavenly world, is more dynamic and elusive. It cannot be imprisoned, as shown by unsuccessful attempts to do so, partially by means of technology. If you listen to live performances, there is always some difference in them compared to the recorded versions, no matter the modifications made. The music so produced or reproduced loses much of the soul-stirring sweetness it possesses when it comes fresh from its own world, carrying to the soul memories of its home and speaking to it in a language that no beauty expressed in marble or upon canvas can equal. It is a law of nature that no one can inhabit a more efficient body than he or she is capable of building. So, the dead person first learns to build a certain grade of body and afterwards learns to live in it when reborn. In that way, he or she discovers its defects and is taught how to remedy them. We all work unconsciously. All dead people, they work unconsciously. And we were also there some years back. We work unconsciously. at the building of our bodies during antenatal life until we reach the point where the quintessence of former bodies which were saved is to be built in. We talk about the extracts of the dense body, the vital body, and the desired body. All these extracts in the seed atom are saved. When we are coming down to take physical embodiment, all those extracts are woven back into the bodies. We'll be looking at that in our next lecture. Then we work consciously. It is only when we are to put into the bodies that we have newly built that we work consciously. Otherwise, it's all unconscious work. All being that we haven't matured yet. We haven't become perfect yet to do all these things consciously. It will therefore be seen that the more a person advances and the more he or she works on his or her vehicles, the more powerful the person becomes in building better bodies. So we see that the individual learns to build his or her vehicles, bodies in the heaven world, and to use them in the physical world. Nature provides all phases of experience in such a marvelous manner and with such consummate wisdom that as we learn to see deeper and deeper into her secrets, we are more and more impressed with our own insignificance and with an ever-growing reverence for God, whose visible symbol nature is. Nature, as people claim, is the visible symbol of God. The more we learn of God's wonders, the more we learn of nature's wonders, the more we realize that this world system is not the vast, perpetual motion machine and thinking people who help us to believe it is never so. It will be absurd, very, very much absurd, to think that if we toss a box of alphabets into the air, the characters will have arranged themselves into the words of a beautiful poem by the time they reach the ground. That cannot be so. The greater the complexity of the plan, the greater the weight of argument in favor of the theory of an intelligent divine author. And that intelligent divine author is God, called as such in English, but differently in other languages and cultures. There is God, the Creator. And Acts chapter 17 verse 28 says, "For in Him we live and move and have our being." No one is outside of God. We are all in God, but at different levels, depending on what we do. Having talked about the second heaven, we are now going to talk about third heaven. The third heaven. Let us take note. 1. Having assimilated all the fruits of his or her last life and altered the appearance of the earth in such a manner as to afford him or her the necessary environment for the next step towards perfection, we're talking about the dead or the spirit. 2. Having also learned by work on the bodies of others to build a suitable body through which to express himself or herself in the physical world. Let's go to the third. 3. Having at last resolved the mind into the essence which builds the threefold spirit, the naked individual spirit, the spirit now without any vehicles. That's what we mean by the naked individual spirit. The spirit now has no vehicles, no bodies. It now ascends into the higher region of the world of thought, the region of abstract thought, which is the third heaven. The region of concrete thought is the second heaven. The region of abstract thought is the third heaven. The region of abstract thought is above the mind. Let us take note that the region of abstract thought is above the mind, and the mind is the fourth vehicle of the spirit. And we show the diagram again. You can see the movement where the third heaven is. rather than having archetypes, we now have the germinal ideas in the world or in the region of abstract thought. We have over there the germinal ideas, that of form, that of vital life, and that of desire and emotions. They are different from the archetypes that we have around the region of concrete thought. Here, in the region of abstract thought, or the third heaven, by the indescribable harmony of the higher world, the spirit is strengthened for its next dip into matter. So in the third heaven, the spirit prepares to come back into physical embodiment. After a time comes the desire for new experience and the contemplation of a new birth. When we say that the third heaven goes beyond the mind, let us not think that without the mind, the spirit cannot function. The spirit can function without the mind. So in the third heaven, all these things that we do here, they are all already integrated in the spirit. So the spirit can still desire over there and can also think more or less, but not the way it does in material things. This conjures up a series of pictures before the vision of the spirit, a panorama of the new life in store for it. So when the desire comes for the spirit to take rebirth, pictures of the life that it is going to live on earth will be played to it. The spirit has the choice to make which particular life will you like to live in the next life. But let us mark this. The panorama, the pictures that are played in the third heaven for the spirit, they contain only the key events. And the spirit has the choice to ask, to demand for details. But it's the key or the principal events that are played to the spirit. The pictures in the panorama of the coming life begin at the cradle and end at the grave. That is how the pictures are played in the third heaven. Not backwards, but rather forward. This is the opposite. Playing the pictures forward is the opposite direction to what is done after death, when the panorama is played in reverse order. The panorama passes backwards after death in reverse order, but in the third heaven, when the spirit is to take a new embodiment, the pictures are played in a forward direction. The reason for this difference in the two panoramas is that in the before birth panorama, the object is to show the spirit that is ready for physical embodiment how certain causes in the spiritual world or certain actions in the spiritual world produce certain effects. That is the reason. In the case of the after-death panorama, the object is the reverse, to show how each event in the past life was the effect of some cause further back in the life. We may be asking ourselves, why should we come back to rebirth? Why must we return to this limited and miserable physical existence? Can we not get experience in the higher realms without coming into physical embodiment? Are we not tired of this dreary, weary physical life? Are we not tired? Let us see. First, let us come to the realization that the purpose of life is not happiness, never, but experience. The spirit to gather experience. That is the purpose of life. Sorrow and pain are our most benevolent teachers, while the joys of life, how we term them, we are happy today, life is good, they are but passing. Experience is knowledge of the effects which follow things that we do. This is the object of life, together with the development of will, which is the force. Will is the force whereby we apply the results of experience. Experience must be gained, of course, but we have the choice whether we gain that experience by the hard path of personal experience or by observing others, what they do, reasoning about what happened to them, and reflecting thereon ourselves, being guided by our own experience. One of the best ways to learn is to learn from what happened to others, not waiting for you to also go through the same difficulty when you have the opportunity to learn and vary your circumstance. But the choice is ours. But so long as we have not learned all that there is to learn in this world, we must come back to it. We cannot stay in the higher worlds and learn there until we have mastered the lessons of earth life. So this is a preparatory school for us as spirits. We need to come back to earth until we have mastered the lessons of physical existence. So long as we haven't mastered the lessons of physical existence, we need to come back. Humanity, all of us, humanity is in school, the school of experience. We must return many times before we can hope to master all the knowledge of this sense world. No single earth life, however rich in experience, could furnish the knowledge. So, nature decrees that we must return to earth after intervals of rest to take up the work where we dropped it in previous life. Just as a child takes up its work in school each day after the intervening sleep of night. So, we're talking about why come back to earth again. What benefit could come from a good life in a heaven where everybody is already happy? Surely, in a place where everybody is already happy, there is no need for sympathy, self-sacrifice, or wise counsel. No one will need them there, but on earth, there are many people who need those things. And such humanitarian and altruistic qualities are of greatest service to struggling humanity. Therefore, the great law which works for good brings the dead back to work again in the material world for the benefit of himself or herself and others. With the past acquired treasures, instead of letting them go to waste in a heaven where no one needs them. In heaven, nobody really needs your assistance, your help. Everything is already there. But here on earth, people need them. That is why we need to come back and help. Just as we ourselves also need help, because we have not finished learning the lessons of this material world. Remember the charge to humanity in the Bible. Genesis chapter 1 verse 26, where we read, "And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." That charge to humanity we are still pursuing. We are yet to have dominion over the world, to master all physical materials, and transfer them to etheric materials. We are yet to master that. For now, humanity is using dense matter to mold things based on our desires, our thoughts, and our will. With time, humanity will work directly using atoms and ethers. But we are not there yet. But we are gradually getting there. Quantum science, like others, is just the beginning of greater things to come, especially 400 to 500 years hence, when we enter the Aquarian age. It will be marvelous what humanity can do. It is all in living up to the charge to conquer, to have dominion over the earth, to master all the four elements of this world. In Matthew chapter 5 verse 48, we read, Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father, which is in heaven, is perfect. Generally, humanity is not yet perfect, but working towards perfection. A single lifetime cannot make us perfect. So, we are created and destined to become creators and also add value to the Godhead. Let us summarize and conclude the lecture. When the spirit is thoroughly purged in purgatory, the purified spirit rises into the first heaven. So it is only after we have been thoroughly purged, the dead has been thoroughly purged in purgatory, that the dead can rise to the first heaven. First heaven is located in the three highest regions of the desire world, where the results of the sufferings are incorporated into the seed atom to give that body of the dead the quality of right feeling. When the physically dead person comes to scenes where he or she helped others, the dead realizes anew all the joy of helping at that time. In addition, the dead feels all the gratitude poured out by the recipient of the help. Similarly, when the dead comes to scenes where he or she was helped by others, the dead again feels all the gratitude that was then felt towards the benefactor. Our happiness in heaven depends upon the joy we gave others on earth and the valuation we place upon what others did for us. The first heaven is a place of joy without a single drop of bitterness. The spirit is beyond the influence of the material world, the earthly conditions, and assimilate all the good contained in the past life as it lives it all over again. Here, in the first heaven, all ennobling pursuits, all the good things that we want to do in earth life, to which we aspire, those good things, but couldn't achieve them, they are all realized in the fullest measure in the first heaven. There is no sickness, there is no sorrow, and there is no pain. We all gain the satisfaction which earth life couldn't give us. There, in the first heaven, there is one class, a particularly important class, whose life is so beautiful, the children. The first heaven is also a place of progression for all who had been studious, artistic, and altruistic. Let us take note that the physical world is the world of form. The desire world, where we find purgatory and the first heaven, is particularly the world of color. And the world of thought, where we have the second and third heavens, they are the sphere of tone. So we have the variation. When virtue and conscience have been sufficiently strengthened, then and only then does the dead leave the desire body to disintegrate, as happened to the dense body and the vital body. The dead takes with him or her only the forces of the seed atom, the living information, which are to form the nucleus of future desire body. Finally, the ego, the threefold spirit, enters the second heaven, clad in the sheath of mind, which contains the three seed atoms, that of the dense body, that of the vital body, and that of the desire body. The second heaven is in the region of concrete thought. The extract of the three bodies, as already mentioned, are built into the spirit, the threefold spirit. As much as of the desire body as the individual has worked upon during life, by purifying his or her desires and emotions, will be welded into the human spirit. As much of the vital body as the light spirit had worked upon, transformed, and spiritualized, will be amalgamated with the light spirit to ensure a better vital body and temperament in the succeeding lives. As much of the dense body as the divine spirit has saved by right action will be worked into it and will bring better environment and opportunities in the future. The second heaven is the real home of the spirit, the ego, the thinker. Here, in the second heaven, the dead dwells for centuries, hundreds of years, assimilating the fruit of the past of life and preparing the earthly conditions which will be the best suited for the next step in progress to come back into physical existence. Therefore, all the denizens of heavenly worlds work upon the models of the earth, all of which are in the region of concrete thought. They alter the physical features of the earth and bring about the gradual changes which vary its appearance, so that on each return to physical life, a different environment has been prepared wherein new experiences may be gained. Work in the heaven world is not confined solely to the alternation of the surface of the earth. It goes beyond that alteration. The dead is also actively engaged in learning how to build a body, which shall afford a better means of expression in the future. It is humanity's destiny to become a creative intelligence, and we are serving our apprenticeship all the time on earth. During heaven life, teachers from the higher creative hierarchies teach the dead consciously how to build body. It is a law of nature that no one can inhabit a more efficient body than he or she is capable of building. The dead person first learns to build a certain grade of body and afterwards learns to live in it. In that way, he or she discovers its defects and is taught how to remedy them. At last, the individual spirit, without any bodies, ascends into the higher region of the world of thought, the region of abstract thought, which is the third heaven. And let us not forget Paul telling us of seeing a man in the third heaven. And for you to be conscious in the third heaven, it means you are highly developed spiritually. Here, in the third heaven, by the harmony of this higher world, the spirit is strengthened for its next dip into matter. After a time comes the desire for new experience and the contemplation of a new birth. This conjures up a series of pictures before the vision of the spirit, a panorama of the new life in store for it. Why should the spirit come back into physical embodiment? Rebirth. Why? First, let us understand that the purpose of life is not about happiness, but experience. Experience must be gained, but we have the choice whether we gain it by the hard path of personal experience or by observation of other people's acts, reasoning about them and reflecting thereon, guided by the light of our own past experience. The choice is ours, but so long as we have not learned all that there is to learn in this world, we must come back to earth. We cannot stay in the higher worlds and learn there until we have mastered the lessons of earth life. Humanity is also in school, and that school is a school of experience. We must return many times before we can hope to master all the knowledge in the world of sense. Every human being is created and destined to become a creator and also add value to the Godhead. For now, we are using dense matter to mold things based on our thoughts, our desires, and our will. With time, humanity will work directly using atoms and ethers. So it is important we experience rebirth. But it does not mean that we stay aloof, thinking that the work that should be done today, we will do it when we come back. No, that is a misconception. We need to get a job done now. We hope you have learned something new today. If you have any comments, any questions, any suggestions, kindly post them into our comment section. Let us meet again as we bring to you the final part 5 of this long presentation that we have been doing on what happens before, during, and after, talking about death. Our last presentation, our last chapter, which is chapter 5, episode 5, we'll be talking about rebirth or spirit in matter as a human being. And we seek to explain to you how we finally descended into this body that we have built ourselves, and we are now called human beings. We thank you and see you.
Filling up every space, no privacy. And silently, it can build and build until you finally see. Whoa, it's taking over, damn no closure, moving closer. No exposure, I just wanna be a loner. Some can't stay sober, looking over all this.